Okay, we're recording and
Okay.
let's go over our TSA team. If you can pull up Sleeper and then share it.
Yeah, I should be able to do that. Let's see
Have you heard
here.
anything on Josh Jacobs? I saw on
No,
it said
no.
something he's doubtful. And
Oh, I
that
didn't
was,
see that.
well,
I didn't see that correction.
that was on our Discord, our
Okay.
in-house Discord. Somebody was saying that, and I don't know where they got that information.
Yeah,
So
let me check another one of my sources because that's going to be an important one for me because
important for
I
me
have a lot
too.
of lot of guys questionable heading
Higgins,
into.
Woody
Yeah.
Marks,
Oh,
and
it's
Jacobs
terrible.
are my big three this week.
Yeah, so let me check one of my sources. It's really good on the injury side of things, and we'll see if that is has been made yet or not. Let's see. So I'm showing still as questionable,
Okay.
and I will go into, let's see if I can share this. Share screen. Here we go. And share sleeper. So that should
There you
work.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to our TSA. If I can get there, it's not letting me move down the thing here. Oh, I know what I gotta do. Duh. Never mind. I'm feeling pretty stupid this morning. Let's see here. So here's our TSA title belt league. This is the matchup against the whole world here,
Yeah.
and we're taking on our buddy JC. So we have tough
He's
competition
our
this week.
friend except for this week. He's our dreaded enemy. Okay.
Yeah. So quarterback, I think it's pretty straightforward. We've
Dennis,
got
I'm all in on golf. I've taken
yeah,
him over Dak,
yes,
Lamar, Love. Those are kind of my three big ones.
yes.
And I'm at home. They need points. I'm thinking it's lots of goodness.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that I liked Goff this year, and in addition to the fact that he's usually pretty solid, is that he had indoor games his last three games of the season.
Yep.
And we know that it's not just home away split with him. There's a big difference between playing in bad weather
Yeah.
and playing indoors. And
Right.
that's the same reason why I made sure to have Kaimi Fairburn as our kicker in a lot of
Right.
leagues,
Right.
because I wanted that indoor kicking guy.
Right.
So I feel pretty good about that. Um, Glad to see Javonte Williams come off the questionable list. I
Yeah.
was worried about him. Williams,
Just before I forget, I have the Devin Neal shares in three teams that are still alive. So
oh,
just telling folks what I did was I went ahead and picked up or scheduled to pick up Malik Davis, Esme Hall, and Naheem Hines, kind of my order. Just, who knows if I make it to next week, something happens, any other RB, folks in the line here, those are kind of who I'm going for to stockpile just in case something happens today. I mean, it's a pretty tough matchup with the Chargers, and if he gets hurt, it would be nice if I made it through to have Malik Davis as a possibility. So I'm trying to slip in for a dollar while everybody's off because everybody's kind of forgetting about him since he's going. They're not thinking next week, and I'm thinking, why not? So
yeah,
just,
and I love that strategy. That's the same reason why, even though I expect Woody Marks to play this
oh yeah,
week, he's still
Johnson.
questionable.
Oh yeah.
but I grabbed Jawar Jordan as his
Yeah.
backup
Yeah.
just in case,
Yeah.
and I want to be covered. Of course, we'd already made moves for guys like Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah.
We're
They're not
backed.
available. Yeah.
No, they're no longer available, but we're backed up where we need to be backed up. I like the Malik Davis pick.
I just
Uh,
didn't want to be surprised. I didn't want to be holding the bag next week.
no, and I've even grabbed a little bit of Travion Williams from Cleveland because
Yes.
Sampson's out and Judkins, is one injury
And
away.
Tajay Brooks is another one if he's
Yep,
available. So
yep,
I've got for Cincinnati. So I'm trying to stockpile running backs one more time, Dennis. And because I feel like wide receivers, I can find somebody for 10 points if I got if I'm in
right.
a deep bind. But I think for a viable RB for next week, if I make it through, I think they'll be lean. Or if nobody picks up Malik and something happens, everybody will be throwing, whoever my opponent will be throwing all their
Yes.
money at it.
Yeah, and we on this team we do have Malik Davis
Hmm.
as the backup to Williams,
Yeah.
and
What about Tajay Brooks?
we no longer have Brooks on the roster. We grabbed Vidal instead
Yeah. I'm
uh
just wondering,
weeks
somebody like
ago,
Hull, in other
and
words,
we
should we nail
yes,
down that? Is it
yeah,
too
we
late for,
well, let's see if Brooks is available. And the big worry with Brooks is I'm not even sure that
yeah,
he is the next man up.
yeah, but I
But
mean,
and let's see, Brooks is available,
yeah.
so we could make that
Anyway,
move.
just think about that, Dennis. I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying consider it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea to consider. I'm not crazy about Romeo Dobbs at the end of the bench right now.
Yeah, me either.
He's not getting a lot of play, and we've
Right.
got four viable wide receivers there.
Hmm.
So I don't have a problem with pivoting from Brooks or to Dobbs from Brooks, because unless they lose Jaden Reed and Watson, I don't think Dobbs is a big deal. And at wide receiver right now, if we were to need a desperate play, there's still Hollins available.
Mitchell.
Uh, you still got
I see
Isaiah
I
Williams.
see 10-point guys out there
Oh
already.
yeah, yeah. There's
Seals, yeah, I
seven to
see
10 pointers, so I'm not
Kirk. I
worried
mean,
about that. And
Douglas.
yeah, there's a lot of guys that we could switch to. So why don't we pick up Brooks while we've got a chance, just to make sure we've got him covered.
I'm
And
just, telling people that's what I'm doing. And for this team, since you are depending on Brown,
yes, that's a good idea,
yeah,
because if we are in a situation where we need to be protected with our running backs,
yeah,
I'm not caring about protection. We've got four healthy wide receivers that are must starts
yeah.
right now, and Diggs is kind of on that borderline of a must start. We also got Jordan with Houston that's available. I might pivot and grab
Yeah,
him this week and leave Brooks.
yeah, that's
Um,
fine too.
yeah, because I think with Mark's hurt, I think that is the more viable play.
Yes,
Because if Marks does not play tomorrow,
yeah,
I would be perfectly fine with pivoting to Jordan
yeah,
one of our starting, instead of Diggs, quite frankly.
right,
I'm not really sure what to do with Diggs. He's the kind of guy where you need to play him.
yeah,
In this lineup, he's our fourth best wide receiver,
right.
but he's not cracking the top three. We got
No.
Puka, we got Devonta Smith, and we got Olave. And I think all three of those guys are better
So
risks than Diggs.
something that I do, Dennis, when I can see the usage, I like to imagine the public's right.
Yes.
So a lot of times I will actually flip to what they say in quotes and then consider what I think. And just it allows me to question, why are they doing this and I'm doing that? It doesn't mean I'm following them. It just means I'm using them as a foil for my decision.
Yeah, and my biggest concern in our starting lineup right now
Uh-huh.
is I really think with the injuries that Green Bay has had that their defense is a little weaker.
Mm-hmm.
I expect Chicago to run the daylights out of the ball.
Yes.
And I'm kind of thinking, with Swift going into the game, the best case for Swift is that he goes into the game questionable.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that we've seen a split with Menanje and Swift anyway?
And play them both has helped.
Playing both has helped. And in this case, I'm wondering if playing him over, he had a bad week last week. So that gives you that bad taste in your mouth. But the last time he played Green Bay,
Dennis, he played Cleveland.
He played Cleveland, and they didn't need him, quite frankly, because they were blowing him out. And, they were just leaning into Swift a little bit more. But he's still got 11 carries. So I'm looking at that and saying, if he's getting over 11 carries every week since week 11, he has had every week, he's had over 11 carries.
Mm-hmm.
Is that better than what we could expect with Diggs? Because Diggs' volume is really unpredictable right now. He's getting targeted, but look at the targets dropping. The targets have dropped way off.
And why
to 3
is
and 4.
that? Why do we think, and Cincinnati Giants are not tough?
No.
So
And
what is it about their game that they flipped from Diggs?
Boute's healthy again.
Uh-huh.
And they've been doing these little gimmick plays to Pop Douglas. They've been running the ball a ton.
And they used Hunter Henry
and throwing to their tight ends. Correct. So they've been playing a lot of two tight ends. Yes. So they have not leaned into Diggs as much. And here's the thing too. Like, remember Diggs a couple years ago in Buffalo?
Uh-huh.
He really dropped off in the cold weather.
I remember that now that you're.
Yeah. So let
me ask you this: in Diggs, do they show you last year's?
Yes.
Stats?
Yes. I can
Let's
go into
just
last
review
year's,
that.
and we can actually look at the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So 2024, he was done.
He got hurt
after week 8.
Okay.
And if you look at 2023, look at how he drops off towards the end of the year. You got one big week against Philadelphia, but you got 6, you got 8.
Yeah.
You got 25
and he
on the
got
road
hurt
when it went
again.
bad. Yeah, and then he got hurt again. He was missed a week, and then came back, and you had one really stout week. But look at all the targets drop off again. And he was, again, the main man
look at that.
in an offense that was more aggressive throwing the ball. And his targets still dropped off.
Yeah. Okay.
So end of the year, he drops off considerably. Is that what we're seeing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that with Swift questionable, that we might want to pivot like we did a couple weeks ago back to Menanje.
I think so. Let's do that.
And put him in the starting lineup here.
And I'll tell you something else
and then, of course, we'll move him up once we've got him in the lineup.
I think having Puka already done well gives us some slack here in this strategy.
Yes. And here's the thing is, I'm playing for who has the better chance at a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, Menanje.
Yes.
Worst case for Menanje, worst case, he gets 10 to 12 touches of the ball.
And he gets a shot at the red zone. I believe that as well.
Yeah. The best case for Diggs is he gets targeted 6 to 7 times.
Yeah.
So I like to lean into the volume, especially in the the final four of the playoffs. If I can start all wide receivers, I'm sorry, all running backs in those flex positions,
yeah.
I'm kind of happy with that.
Yeah.
This league we have 2 flex, and if we move Menanje, because this is a Saturday game, we move him out of the flex just to make sure.
Yeah, yeah.
In case Brown comes up limping tomorrow morning or whatever. Yeah. But here, everybody we've got is in the noon game. So we are protected as much as we need to be. We can pivot to Vidal if Hampton would happen to make the injury list or whatever.
Marks.
We are positioned here. The only question that I have is, are we sure it's going to be Estime?
Yeah, I was going to circle that. I think worst case it's 50-50 with Hull, or 40-40 and add some Naheem Hines in there, maybe in the passing situation.
Which has me a little concerned. Now, last week after Neal went out, and Neal was getting it all, like he was getting almost all of the attention. When he went out, Estime got 3 chances in the passing game.
Yes.
Which was very intriguing.
Well, but I looked at his last year, and the year, I think it was with Denver, he didn't get much passing.
Didn't get any passing. So, yeah, very little. So that's why it was intriguing to me. The other guy I'm looking at is Kimani Vidal.
Yeah.
Vidal has gotten 12 or more touches.
Kind of the Menanje.
In all but one game here.
Yeah.
Like, it's only the Jacksonville game where he didn't get a lot, and he still got you 4.7 on a bad week. Since, he's gotten pretty heavy usage, and I'm okay with obviously 24. You're ecstatic. I'm okay with 12, and I'm not unhappy with 7.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if Vidal, because we know he's going to get split, Dallas is vulnerable to giving up a big game. Okay. Do we pivot to Vidal? And in this case,
instead of Estime,
2% more people are starting
New
Vidal.
Orleans, is that Carolina, or Carolina is that New Orleans?
New Orleans is at home.
Okay. Yes. And who are they playing?
They're playing the Jets.
The Jets.
And the Jets have not been they've not been as bad as you would think. Okay. Because if I look up their points against to running backs, okay, and granted they have against running backs, actually I guess they have risen to the top, so they're giving up the most points now, and they're giving up 4 receptions a game.
My DAPs say it's a positive for New Orleans.
Yeah, and the only question is, does Estime get more touch? Does he get more touches than Vidal? Is the question that I have right now.
I think there's nothing as far as DAPs. You lean a little bit New Orleans, but there's nothing in the Chargers that scares me with Vidal against Dallas. There's nothing there.
And no, Dallas since week 7, okay, and that's what I'm looking at now. Is I'm looking at week 7 to the end of the season, and the Jets have now risen to the top, and Dallas is actually in the middle. They've been giving up 23 points to opposing running backs since week 7, 32.5 for the Jets. So
Dennis, I just can you see what I'm sharing?
No, I cannot.
Oh.
So I'll have to stop sharing, I think.
Okay.
Let me stop sharing.
I was just going to show you the DAPs.
Yeah, I'm stopping sharing so you can
so
now
let
share
me,
those.
And I can tell we're really fired up. I hear the intensity and I feel it too.
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
hanging around somebody who's intense on something, you catch it. It's like a mental thing. It's like Dennis has grabbed the bit and he's just pulling forward. And I feel the same way. We're coming around that stretch and we're just got the bit and we're gonna kick butt. Dennis, I for next year, I decided to show a shorthand version of all the games in the DApps.
Ooh, I like it.
And so what you're seeing is me quickly showing. So I'm gonna add this to our
I love
to
it.
our site. I'm just wondering if this facilitates quick thinking. Because if I put
Yes.
this on the site, you and I can quickly go and look. So you don't, you don't have to, worry about me because I may be doing family things. In fact, tonight I've got we're Christmas shopping at Sam's in
Oh.
Hot Springs, so I will be, for the Green Bay. So I definitely will be watching the Jacob situation and be on my phone flipping in and out. So keep me in the loop here. But anyway, take a look down here at New Orleans. Uh, they got a positive DAP for
Yep.
RBs. So
Yep.
that's good news.
That's very good.
Chargers have a neutral
Neutral.
DAP.
Yep.
So there's nothing. If Chargers had a negative here, that would, I think that would break the tie. But since I see
Yes.
this and I'm a little bit skewed to Vidal anyway, when I see this, I'm kind of closer back to the fence, Dennis, making it a harder. What I see is the Chargers, Dennis, are going to have more flexibility and more dynamicness of passing and running. So they don't have to rely all on Vidal and Hampton. They'll be able to hit their tight end, wide receiver. Just good luck picking the one, right? With McConkey and Johnson and Allen. And so there's that. That's a separate issue. So I don't think Vidal's going to not get, that's a double negative there. I don't think not. Vidal, I think, is viable, and I think Estime's viable. So I think, given
And
that
here's
we've got Puka, who's got the
yes.
ceiling, Dennis, and I might argue
Yes.
that Estime, since he's a little bit more unknown, might have a higher ceiling. But that's
Yeah.
just my guess,
Well,
since we
here
know Hampton is splitting.
we know Hampton is splitting, and we know that Hampton is and here's the thing is we don't even know that Hampton's getting more than Vidal because Vidal got used in the passing game, which we really like.
Oh yeah, that says good. The
Yeah.
DAPs say good for passing.
So yeah, and here's one more wrinkle, one more thing that I like to throw in there.
Yeah,
When I'm in doubt, I look at two more things. I look at weather and I look at the over under.
yeah,
And the over under for the Chargers is at 50. And their implied score in that game
yeah.
is 22.75 as you're showing on the chart now.
Yep.
The implied scoring for New Orleans is actually a little bit higher, which is interesting. So even though the depths are lower or the over
Yeah,
under is
yeah,
lower at 40, their implied score is still pretty high.
yeah,
So I'm looking at this and going, man, that doesn't tell me anything either.
yeah,
Because if I had the over unders that were, like the implied scoring within the over unders that were similar, then I'd be a little concerned. And then I look at, okay, so who's more likely to win this game by a
I think
larger
New
margin?
Orleans has the advantage over the Jets.
And here's the thing with the Jets, too. I mean, you look at the Chargers, they're going up against Dak Prescott. Dak has been on a roll where he's not turning the ball over in the short field versus Brady Cook, who is probably going to be struggling a bit. So here's where I think, well, New Orleans has to put the game away and they lean into that rushing game even more. And if we are right, see, here's the key. So there's been 3 big running back replacements that were not clear this year. We had Michael Carter and Bam Knight, and ended up being a 50-50 split. We had Vidal and Haskins. Most of the world was on Haskins. We were on Vidal, and we were right. And now you got Estime and Hull. My feeling on this, based on their past statistics, is that Estime is a better player. So if Estime gets 60% of the touches and Vidal only gets 50% of the touches, are we ahead with Estime? And I would say I'm not sure I know which team has the better chance of scoring rushing touchdowns in this one. I think that's pretty even. If anything, maybe a slight edge to New Orleans. They have been very good at taking the ball away from people. And that is something I really like. You know, again, this is the next level of picking matchups because the first 3 or 4 levels ended up in a tie.
Yeah.
And based on this, and based on, I love your rationale here of we're in a good situation
with Puka
doubling his usual scoring.
Yes.
So if we take a swing and we're wrong on Estime, we're probably still scoring 6 or 7 points, right?
I was thinking 8 just because that's what he got last. I feel like his ceiling is higher than Vidal. I think that's capped by Hampton. Doesn't mean Vidal couldn't, but I think in the range of possibilities, I feel like it's a higher possibility that Vidal is safer than us. And, 12 points seems safe. Estimate 8 points. So we're giving up that safety, but I think the ceiling with Estime, he could get 2 touchdowns or he could get 0.
He could get nothing. Like,
So, but
he could stiff us.
Yeah, if we got 2 touchdowns, that would be the final nail in JC's coffin. No offense, JC, if you're listening, but hey, we're trying to nail your hide to the wall. That's how we do it down here in the South. You know, for when you're skinning a squirrel, Dennis, you nail his paws to the tree. You cut behind his neck and you pull that skin, and that's what we're doing, JC. That's how we do it down here. We're gonna skin you. No offense, but it's time for us to take the gloves off and skin you and show you a good whooping that you need. So,
and once again, some people will say, Evan Hull was active in games that Estime wasn't.
yes,
He plays special teams.
yeah.
So I never worry about that
No.
with a guy who plays. So I'm feeling pretty good about this lineup. I mean, if we go
I
into
like
this,
the lineup.
Yeah.
From what I saw, I think we've answered the main questions, Dennis. If you've got something else, you can share it. But I think that was. I like the Malik Day, the Jordan. What's his name? From Houston. I like that.
Yeah, yes.
But
And here's the thing: is if Woody Marks is out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
With Houston playing Las Vegas
Yeah.
and pretty much anybody other than Dare Ogunabowale,
Yeah.
who they'll put in the passing game.
Right.
He'll be third and long. They're not throwing to the running backs anyway.
Right.
Houston, you're looking at, will he get into the end zone? And
By the way, Houston has a positive RB DAP situation.
yes,
Vegas has negatives everywhere. There's
and
nothing other than Bowers is the best shot at a neutral DAP as I'm looking here, Dennis.
yes,
So I think whoever, Woody Marks or whoever, there's opportunities for point collection there.
yeah, and Woody Marks, one of the comments that I saw after the game was, if we would have needed him,
Mm-hmm.
he probably could have come back.
Right,
I'm always encouraged by that.
right.
They had a 20-point lead at
Yeah,
the end of the game. They
yeah,
did not need to lean into him,
yeah.
and that was encouraging. He went back to practice. He practiced, one day this week,
Which is
and
good.
it's an ankle, not a knee, but it's
Right.
not a major enough ankle, and it wasn't a high ankle sprain. I hate those.
Yeah.
The only one who has been good enough to come back without any blinking from a high ankle was the sun god, and he's a god in fantasy football.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's that. We're not shocked by that, but that's how I've got this team set up now, is that, let's say he hurts himself again. Now next week we're covered. We are covered with running backs, galore. The guy that might be expendable at this point is Caleb Johnson with Pittsburgh. Like, he's stayed on this roster the whole year.
Right.
He's expendable. Do we want to pivot to another quarterback as a backup just in case something happens to Goff? We're already backed up with Lamar Jackson. We've got, Snoop Huntley. Do we want to pivot and grab a quarterback? I don't know what's available. Minshew's available.
Right.
I mean, again, we're not playing him this week, and we're not playing him next week unless something happens to Goff.
Yeah.
But do we pick up Goff's backup?
Uh,
I don't think that might. I don't know. Minshew, it's like, you kind of know you're probably not going to get a lot of turnovers from Minshew tomorrow, but I'm not sure you're going to get a lot of goodness either. But
yeah.
we're looking forward to the final week of the season. But do the Chiefs just shut down?
Yeah.
They're in uncharted territory. They're not used to playing out the string.
Yeah.
Do they just say, you know what? We feel really good about Mahomes coming back in time early next year. Why don't we make sure nobody else misses? And they shut down some of
I
the key
mean,
guys.
I would think people like Bashir Smith and some of these other folks
They
get more
might get a
playing
shot.
time.
They might get a shot at the end.
I'd put Juju out there. I'm not sure I'd put Hollywood Brown. I would take, as you say, some of these folks that need a little showcasing. I'd put Noah Gray out there more than
Yes.
Kelsey. I
Well,
would.
if we see Kelsey pulled, that's a
Mhm.
sign he's not retiring. Okay.
Yes. Yes. I
If
see
we
what you,
see if we see Kelsey out there for the last two games in
yeah.
his usual high volume role,
Right.
then maybe he retires. Did you see the whole breakdown of his latest podcast?
No.
So this is how desperate some people get at trying to find little nuggets
Yeah.
within what people say.
Right.
So Kelsey, in the past,
Right.
when he is referred to the Chiefs,
Right.
it's been we.
Yeah.
Okay. When he referred to Mahomes for next year,
Hmm.
he said, I know that nobody is going to work harder than Patrick Mahomes, and they will be just fine next season. It's the first time he's referred to his team as they. Is he going to hang it up? That's my big question right now. And I've had a couple of offers on dynasty teams where I was eliminated, but there's but there is no trade deadline. People are coming after Kelsey. And I'm like willing to give him up, but I'm only giving him up if I get a player to pick back, just like I would if he was coming back next year. And people are like, oh, it's just 2 games. Well, probably, but it could be 16 more games next season. I just don't see how a guy ultra competitive like Kelsey is going to retire with this bad taste of missing the playoffs in his mouth. I think had he won the Super Bowl last year and had they pulled off the three-peat, he might have announced his retirement right then and there. But I just don't see him wanting to go out on a losing team. He started on a losing team. This is one of the only Chiefs on this roster who has finished a season and missed the playoffs. That's how long he's been playing for the Chiefs. I don't know if a guy like that who's so competitive goes out at the bottom of performances. And I say bottom because for the Chiefs not making the playoffs is atrocious. So, it's a normal team. That's not a big deal. But for the Chiefs who have gone to 7 straight AFC championships, this is a big deal, not making the playoffs at all. If he had made the playoffs and they just stumble along the way, I could see him retiring with grace, no problem. I think he's got something to prove. I think he knows that. I'll guarantee Mahomes was on the phone with him immediately, like day after surgery. Hey, man, I need you next year. Would you consider coming back? I mean, I just see all of these scenarios where I cannot see him. And maybe it's just the Homer Chief fan in me being, hoping for the best, because I don't like to see guys like when they finally retire and they're gone. I wish them well, because man, this is a rough sport. And I'm glad when they get out and they can still walk,
Right.
But in his case, it's like, it's going to be a sad day when Kelsey hangs it up. I just, and a sad day for my dynasty teams too, man. I got like 8 shares of him still.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is there another team you want to go through, Dennis, or I can pick some of mine, or what you want?
I actually do have, I have one where
go for
it. This is like the ultimate good decision making.
Okay.
This is my guillotine league team.
Okay. Well, let's throw it up there.
So it's, oh yeah, let me share it again here. And you can see these are what we call first world problems. Okay.
Yeah.
Because my quarterback decision is between Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield.
So you can only play, it's not a super flex?
Nope. Only one quarterback.
So tell me the rules now in this game, because I've never played.
Okay. So this game, in this one, it's low score loses. And so you're just avoiding stepping in a pothole.
So I see there's 1 RB, 1 WR, one tight end.
RB, 1 WR, and 3 flex.
And
so
so there's the trick, is the flex.
Yes. So, and 1 tight end, but you can play a tight end in any of your 3 flexes.
Right.
So quarterback, I've got Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield. And for the first time this year, I'm wondering, is Baker the safer floor?
Yeah.
Because it's Cleveland. Okay. Cleveland's defense was not good last week, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Caleb Williams ate him up. So do you look at that and say, whew, they're trending in the wrong direction versus Carolina, who's got something to play for? So, and Carolina's actually been rather stingy. They've given up 13.4. This is again last 7 weeks. 13.4 to opposing quarterbacks. Cleveland 12.8.
Yeah.
So they're identical, right? So I'm looking at them and going, both are facing a tougher than normal defense. I went with Allen because of his legs. The rushing upside versus Baker, I think, gives me a safer floor. But I agree with the projections. I don't think the difference in points is that great.
Here's what predicted wise: Tampa Bay more passing, Buffalo more rushing.
Yes.
So does that help your decision?
Probably not, because you're basically like you're leaning into Josh Allen only because of the rushing ability. Okay.
And that's what the team is going to be.
Correct.
And it's going to be dynamic with Cooks there. So every time they go back to hand the ball off, they're going to wonder, is it a trick and Allen is keeping?
Yeah.
You think that's easy, but if Cook going one way and Allen circling back the other, he can pop for 20, 30 yards. He can get you 6 points just rushing.
Yeah, and he has, because if you look back a few weeks against Tampa, he had 6 touchdowns, including three rushing, 3 passing. He has had.
He can get you 12 points in rushing and a rushing touchdown, Dennis, without even passing.
Easily. That's why I'm leaning into him and saying, let him beat me. Like the rushing ability upside, I think, gives you like a floor.
And that's what the team is going to want to do by my predictions. And I'm looking forward, by the way, to back doing all these weak pass rush ratio predictions and see if there's anything worth pursuing. I'm kind of getting excited, kind of getting the bit on the research side for us, to it. But I think Allen is the way to go there.
So at tight end, I've got Trey McBride. That's not even
you can't leave that. You've got to play.
But you know who my other tight end is?
Kelsey.
Oh, Kelsey was the tight end I drafted. I picked up McBride.
No. I would have to say McBride safer.
Full stream ahead.
Yeah.
Full steam ahead.
Yeah.
So obviously I got Chase at wide receiver.
Yeah.
I got Gibbs and St. Brown.
Now let me ask you about that. Having a rushing and a passing side of a team, is that kind of cutting? Is that limiting your situation? Because I've heard people have concerns about that in general, just that general. I only play one or the, I lean into the rushing side of the team or the passing. It's dangerous to lead into both.
So
you understand what I'm saying there, right?
Totally get that. Totally get that rationale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I was obviously I'm playing Sun God no matter what. Like
is Gibbs an issue?
And so Gibbs, when I look at this matchup and I say, okay, what's the worst that can happen? If Pittsburgh shuts the rushing game down, Gibbs has been very dynamic in the passing game all season long. If you look at his receiving stats, how many other running backs give you 7 targets?
Yeah.
And he's got 7 or more targets in 3 of the last 5 games. They're leaning into him.
Mhm.
Ever since Laporta went out, he's kind of that short option.
Mhm.
So I look at this and I say, I know I'm getting 12 to 15 carries.
So sounds like you're leaning into passing, but
I'm
even playing Gibbs.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
I'm saying that I think that the worst case is Pittsburgh gives up a boatload of points in the passing game.
So
But they
let's play the devil. Who would replace Gibbs? Let's say we throw Gibbs out. Who are we flipping to? Henry?
so I've got a nice
ETN.
problem there.
Damn, Dennis, look at that.
Henry ETN. Now here's the smart move I made.
Olave? Hmm.
So Kyron Williams is on this team.
Oh, and yeah, you
So
benched him.
Kyron Williams was benched because I said the best we're going to get out of Kyron Williams is 12 points.
Yeah.
That's the best we're going to get. And I think it's going to take having 15 points from your running backs, to get this done. And I was like, man, hate benching Kyron Williams. Right. But I did it because he's splitting carries more
with Corum
than Gibbs is with Montgomery. That's
right.
The crazy thing.
Right.
Gibbs has been getting high usage. And this is a game where Detroit, if they lose another game, they're gone from the playoffs. So they're going to lean in to Gibbs and Sun God. They're going to play high number of snaps, and I think they're a must start along with Chase. I don't see a scenario where I would be benching Chase here either. It's not going to be bad weather down in Miami. And yes, we have seen Burrow not playing great, but even on the weeks that he doesn't play great, Chase has been eaten. So, Burrow was really bad last week, and Chase still had a great game. So I'm feeling pretty good about Chase, McBride, Gibbs, and St. Brown in the lineup. Yeah. But where I have a question is at the other running back and flex, because I've got Cook, Bucky Irving, Henry, ETN, Olave, or even Kelsey. Because with Rice out, are they going to lean into the passing game more?
Right.
I'm not crazy about playing two tight ends because it is not tight end premium.
Right.
So I narrowed it down to Olave, ETN, and Henry. Those three, and Irving for that last spot. Cook, I'm just thinking he's getting so much work that even though Cleveland has been not bad on the defense, okay, last 7 weeks of the season, or since week 7, they have now gotten a little bit worse. They're giving up 24.6 to opposing running backs. 32.5 is worst in the league. So it's not a super positive matchup for Cook.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad matchup for Cook. And they've been leaning into him getting so much volume. That's why I ended up with again, putting Cook in the lineup, but I'm not sold on Irving yet.
There's nothing in the dApps that helps our decision, Dennis. Nothing is Tampa Bay, Carolina. There's nothing there that worries me about Bucky.
And the reason I went with him over Henry and ETN was based on the strength of the defense. I think New England's better.
Yeah, let me check. Let's see. Baltimore is the only one I didn't check. There's nothing here. The only thing with Baltimore and Henry is it's been so wonky with Lamar.
Yes.
That just adds complex. In other words, I think if Lamar has a bad game, I think that means the defense has limited passing, and so they're probably even limit. That means that they're winning in the battlefield at the offense defense right there, and Henry's probably having a hard time getting through. In other words, I
Yeah.
think it's not like, oh, Henry's out, but Lamar's excelling. I think they're tied together. Henry needs Lamar to be frisky. And so it's a weird situation, but I'm,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
and here's the situation last week.
Yeah,
So Derrick Henry had 100 yards.
yeah,
Okay. He had 100 yards.
yeah.
He had 10 points in fantasy.
And
Didn't
that's
get in the
fine.
end zone. Did not get in the end zone. I, does Bucky's been swapped out.
Yeah,
But here's what I like about Bucky Irving. I'll show you, pop up the stats and show you what I like about Bucky Irving.
okay.
Since he's come back, look at the targets.
Yeah, a nice.
5, 4, 6, 4.
That is, Dennis, at knowing the data for that, that is exceptional for running back. That's
Yeah.
towards the high end. We know running
Yep.
back can get 5 or more.
Yep.
That's good.
That's what
3,
he, yeah,
two
that's
and a
what he started.
half to 3 is more average.
That's what he started the season with. And here's what he's done the last 3 weeks since coming back.
So
3,
there's nothing
3,
there
2.
that says he can't get 3 targets minimum.
He
That's
should
his
get,
floor.
yeah, he should get 2 or 3 catches every game.
Up to
And
5.
yeah, and he's been turning this at a rate of almost 9, 10 yards a reception minimum.
Yeah.
So that's
So if he can get 30, so we're talking 6+ points minimum for Bucky in the passing.
that's what I would think. And yes, his point totals last couple weeks. I mean, he had 16 and 6 and 14 coming back.
But the median of the last is
last
16.
week.
So
Yeah.
I think 10 to 16 is reasonable expectation this week.
And he's another week back. Carolina doesn't scare me.
Nope.
In Carolina, I think this is going to be a game. So I think Bucky's going to get, Bucky's gotten, 15 or more touches every game he's been back. Versus Henry, it's touchdown or bust.
Yeah.
ETN's going against Denver.
Yeah,
and Denver scares me.
Tampa Bay, because they've got Evans back, Godwin's been perky, Abuka's always there. Carolina's D cannot just focus on Bucky. Their attention is spread. And so when Bucky gets a pass, that's going to be kind of surprising, and he can make hay out of that. Whereas Henry, if Lamar's having his blah day, I'm telling you, that means that they're on to Henry too. I feel like Henry and Lamar need to kind of go together or they sync together. I don't see it something where you can have him different. In other words, Bucky, I could see him being low and still Mayfield being high and doing his thing passing. Or I could see a high Bucky and a mediocre. In other words, they don't trail. They don't go together. They go kind of even more opposite. And I think Henry is tied to Lamar's fate. And I don't think Bucky's necessarily tied to Mayfield's fate as much, because having Evans back, I think, puts the quandary to Carolina. So I do like Bucky there. I think that's a good third flex.
Okay, and that's what I was thinking. Is I felt pretty comfortable that his floor is going to be solid.
If you think you needed a floor of 10, then Henry. But if you want some upside, I like Bucky.
Yeah, I want upside, but I'm a little concerned about tying my upside to Olave. because that requires the passing game being strong. Will they even need to do that?
Yeah,
That
I don't
much
know.
again? Will they be able to run it just and
Right,
beat the Jets with that, or is it going to be
right.
just a lower scoring game?
Yeah,
Whereas Tampa and Carolina, I think, are going to go back and forth.
yeah.
So that's why I'm leaning into that game again. I like the higher, 45 and a half
Mm-hmm.
is the over under in that game.
Right,
And you look at the Jets game, that's 40 and a half. So
right.
about 5 points less. I'm feeling pretty good about this lineup. Those are nice problems to have
Oh
though in a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
guillotine
yeah.
league. And the only thing is, one of the guys I was going up against had Puka,
Oh man,
and one of the guys had JSN. So we're looking
rough,
at, this is going to
rough.
be a big scoring week, but McBride, I think, is going to be the difference maker.
Yep.
And if Josh Allen can put the Superman cape on and get me a
Right.
couple rushing touchdowns, I'll be happy with that. And here's the reason I like playing Josh Allen and James Cook together.
Yep.
If Cook didn't get the rushing touchdown,
Allen
it's
will.
likely it went to Allen. If
Yeah.
Allen is down on the rushing touchdown, it means that Cook got in.
Yep.
So I like playing two guys on the same good offense. And it's similar for Jamar Gibbs and St. Brown. If Gibbs has a little bit of an off game,
Mhm.
then it means they passed more, which means St. Brown is going to have a big game. I
Yeah.
really expect St. Brown to have a big game against Pittsburgh. They
Yeah.
do not cover his type of receiver. They're pretty good physical on the big guys. The quick guys seem to beat them more
Yeah.
this year. So, but those are the two teams that I've got the biggest
Nice.
quandary of decisions. The rest of my decisions in Dynasty are pretty straightforward, but boy, nice to have picked up Amon-Ra St. Brown for the stretch run.
Man,
He
that's
got
nice.
he got ignored in when he came out. People were bidding on other guys, and I got him real cheap. I
Right.
snuck in and got him, and I'm really feeling that the combination of St. Brown and Chase and McBride
Mhm.
is what should carry my team to the finals next week.
Nice. Nice. That's great,
But,
Dennis.
but
Looking
big
f
lineups, big
looking
lineups.
forward to you making the guillotine and looking forward to us in the TSA finals next week.
Yeah, I'm thinking pretty strong with this TSA team of ours. I think we are positioned to make a lot of noise, and I'm gonna go out on the limb here
Yeah.
and make a prediction that whoever wins this game
Yeah.
has the big advantage in the fantasy finals.
That's
So
probably right.
JC's been strong all year long. It's
Right.
been he's got a good team, and it'll be interesting. But see, we're not that far behind, and he's already burned 3 starters.
Yeah.
We have one starter that was burned. So I'm feeling pretty good. We've got a slight edge according to the projections from here on out, and we just
Hmm.
need a couple of guys to have a big game. And we need Lamar to not have a down Lamar game.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And his other quarterback
Mhm.
that he has,
Mhm.
he's got Justin Herbert. So Herbert could have a big game, or he could have a Lamar Jackson type game too. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
the reality there. And he's got Juwan Johnson. It is a tight end premium. He already played Barner, so that was a good start. And then Pickens and Chase, and then Coker is an interesting pick or an interesting player. I think JT is likely to be a little bit lower
With
than his projection. So he's got a very healthy projection, and I think we'll get a little bit more out of Mon and Jay. This
mhm.
league rewards first downs,
Mhm.
and Mon and Jay has been pretty good at getting those first downs.
Nice.
So I'm thinking Olave beats Coker. I'm thinking Nakua beats Chase, and Smith and Pickens will be close.
Mhm.
And then at the other matchups, our combination of Brown and Estime is probably going to beat Barner and Johnson. It's going to be close, but I think we got a shot at beating there. And then it's just a matter of the quarterbacks. He already put up 36 with Stafford. We're going to need 25 from Goff to stay, to do well.
Yeah. And but that's not outrageous, though.
No, it's not asking a lot in this scoring system. So, very interesting lineups here for our TSA league, and I'm feeling pretty good about it.
I feel good. I'm glad we went through that.
Yeah.
And I think if people followed us, this is kind of showing deeper thinking.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like some weeks when you make up your lineup, it's pretty automatic.
Yeah.
Other times when you're making up your lineup, it's pretty complicated. So I'm feeling pretty good about
Dennis,
those lineups.
They were talking about Jacobs and says Rick Avery said last time I saw he was downgraded to doubtful 5 minutes ago. So I don't know where Rick Avery's getting his data.
Yeah, and he's got a pretty good, Rick is very good at looking at stuff. Okay. He's a pretty smart guy when it comes to injuries. But boy, I have not heard that anywhere else. And let's take a look at what the latest from Sleeper is.
In our Discord, that's what it said.
Ooh. So here's where that came from.
Okay.
So in an interview on radio, the beat writer for the Packers with ESPN said that Josh Jacobs is more doubtful than probable to play in the team's Week 16 matchup. Jacobs is officially listed as questionable after missing practice all week as he battles a lingering knee injury. But that's where this came from.
Okay.
That's a pretty good source because Rob Domofsky with ESPN out of Green Bay, he covers the Packers for ESPN. He's not one of those guys that I would say is sensationalistic. So
he's not a Chicken Little.
No. So if he is saying that he's more to that doubtful than probable, it doesn't mean he's not still listed as questionable. Okay. Right. But Rashee Rice was questionable to out. It went pretty quick. He didn't go. They didn't put him as doubtful. He went questionable.
Sounds like I need to flip my Jacobs out.
I would be ready to pivot off of Jacobs, but he is so good that I'd have a hard time benching him if he's active.
Okay. Do we want to start the show?
Yeah, let's jump right into the show because we'll catch up with a lot of these other things because Green Bay, Chicago is one of the games that we'll cover today on the science of fantasy football.
Okay.
All right, here we go. How you doing, everybody? This is Dennis Michelson. Welcome to the science of fantasy football. Why the science of fantasy football? You get a meteorologist and a biologist together, and they're going to use the scientific method to handle statistics. And in fantasy football, statistics can guide you to the right answers. And using the scientific method just says, we're going to let the statistics guide us to the answer rather than searching for a statistic to back up our opinion. And joining me as he does on each episode here on the Science of Fantasy Football and on our sister show, the Matchup Lab over at thesportsaffiliation.com. He is the fantasy professor. He's a real professor. It's John Bush. And John, semifinals for fantasy football. It is amazing. So many decisions to be made. But if you were alive for the Final Four, you had a good season.
That's true. That's true. Folks, you need to definitely listen to the video pre-show where we broke down two teams that Dennis, well, one that Dennis and I share, another one, Guillotine, that Dennis has. And I think we illustrated some approaches that we use in making really, really tough decisions. What we focused on, Dennis, was not softball decisions. It was close, it was tough. We may have made the wrong choices, but we at least gave everything our process. And so, folks, in general, you work on your process and you can't work on an outcome, right? Outcomes are outcomes. The ball bounces funny, you know, and anything can happen. All we can do is focus on ourselves and our process. And that's what Dennis and I have been working on and building and will continue. You need to follow us during the off season. We will be doing research to build our process.
And yeah, and here's the fun part, folks, is we are already working on research
Yeah.
for next season. And, you know, doing the little studies that will lead to better understanding of what is going on. But when it comes to a lot of decisions this time of the year, the best advice is don't get too cute. Like
Oh,
if you've got a player who has been performing at a high level and he's got a decent, he's up against even a strong defense. It's not reason to go against that guy right now. There has to be a really good reason to bench a superior player. And usually I won't do it. Like if a guy is in the top 5 in my MVP ratings at positions, automatic start. Like I don't even think about it. And that's, is that the best way to do it? I'm not so sure that we can always figure out the matchups right. I think if a player is at the top of my rankings at a particular position for this season, that's a player that is pretty much bulletproof. Like he's had to have good games against tough defenses to keep an MVP score over 100, for instance. And the players that are under 100, those are the guys that's where the decision making comes in. And in our TSA league, we had some automatic start guys. And then we had guys who's more likely to score a touchdown. And I like that strategy. The first sort, though, is who are my must start guys?
yeah.
And why are they my must start guys? And the must start is usually because they have been tough all season.
Consistent might be a good word too.
Upside consistent, yes. And then you get into situations where, like with other teams right now, Josh Jacobs would be an automatic start. He's got an MVP this season in 115. That's an automatic start. It's rare that you can find 4 other running backs on your team with a higher MVP score than that. But he's hurt. He's coming into the game questionable. That raises a red flag. Whenever I'm in a decision-making situation, whether it's preseason in the draft or starting and sitting decisions during the season, if a red flag comes up, that's then the player is no longer an automatic start. If he's questionable, he's no longer in my automatic starts. And in FPPC, Professor, when I set my lineups on Tuesday, because my first set of lineups for active teams is on Tuesday, I sort by the best, like who's most bulletproof guys at their position. Who are my best two running backs? Who's my best quarterback? Who's my best tight end? Who's my best two wide receivers? Now I've got those guys set. Then I figure out the last two flex positions. These are one quarterback teams. In super flex, obviously, I'm leaning into a quarterback in that super flex as the first priority. Do I have a reliable second quarterback? Sometimes you don't with bye weeks and injuries. But those are the first sorts you do. I don't even look at the defensive matchups to do that first sort. The first sort are who are my 100 and higher MVP guys. They're in the lineup, unless they're questionable. If they're questionable, like a lot of teams where I had Jacobs did not get sorted as one of the top two running backs because he had that questionable tag. So guys like him and Marks end up in the flex positions. Assuming I have two healthy running backs that I'm happy with, which you don't always at this time of the year. But, that's how I do my first sort. I don't even look at defense. And if that first sort sets all the positions then I've had a really good roster. When you don't have a lot of decisions to make, that means you've got a top heavy roster. And top heavy's fine as long as they stay healthy. If I've got guys in that flex that are questionable, that's when the work starts. And same at wide receiver. Sometimes when I get done with the sort, I'm like, not crazy about both of these guys. That leaves you open to looking at defenses, look at matchups, look at even some free agents. Because there could be a free agent out there who's a better bet to get 8 to 10 points.
Right.
But this time of the year, don't get cute. If a guy is produced, if he's got an MVP 100 and higher, he's a start unless he's hurt.
Yeah. Higgins supposedly has cleared protocol. I just saw that on our TSA discussion. So don't know.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah. So
happy to hear that. But he has not been the typical
no.
T. Higgins. His MVP right now is 83.
Yeah. So that's a 2-3 type.
But this year, there are only 10 guys over 100.
Yeah, so it's rare to be, and it's a little low.
Yeah, so over 100, that's a good place to be. Typically, that means like top 12.
Yeah.
This year, it's top 10.
Yeah.
And, the guys, we're pretty top heavy. We got, of those guys, 4 of them are over 120.
Yeah, that's nice.
But you got London who's been hurt. You've got Devontae Adams who missed this week. So going into this week, we got 8 healthy guys. So that's not a lot, man. If you got 2 of those 8, you're in good shape. If
that follows, then that means you've got tougher decisions because the sure shots, there's less of those this week.
Yes, lots of less sure shots. And, the guys you end up having to decide about include Higgins. Yeah. Okay.
Devonta Smith is one.
Devonta Smith has been, for Devonta Smith, this has not been a good year.
Nope.
Okay. He is at a 36 in MVP right now.
Yeah, that's bad. That's 5.
But Keenan Allen, who started so strong this year.
Yeah, he was a good 2-3, and now he's 5.
He's a 36. DJ Moore is at a 36.
Yeah, but
Uh,
yeah.
McConkey's only 38.
Wow.
Thomas is at a 45. How about this? Justin Jefferson at a 50 on MVP. That was a guy who has never finished below 100.
Right.
And he's at half of that. This shows you how tough it's been. And, JSN leads the way at 150. Then Nakua and Rice. So Rice is going to miss too. So you got 3 of the top 10 out this week. So that opens up a lot of questions at the wide receiver position. And here's one for you that'll blow your mind. So McBride is at a 136 right now. There's only 2 wide receivers higher than that in MVP. And there's only 1 higher at running back. There's 3 equal to 136. That's how good McBride's been. He was worth a late first round pick in FPPC. Bowers wasn't. So if you get the right tight end at a premium, he's having a Kelsey-like season. Remember 22 when Kelsey was just all world?
Yes.
And he was so far ahead of everybody that was a huge advantage that you got. That's what we've seen with McBride this year. So, that's been the big strength. And at quarterback's been pretty deep this year. We've got 8 over 100. So that's pretty good at quarterback.
Well, you can't let the pressure of week 16 change your process, Dennis, and that's the hardest thing.
Yes.
So it's more the psychological side. I feel I'm anxious more than anything. I'm just ready to get into this and see where my process takes me. And some people mistake anxiousness for indecision, and you got to keep those separate, right? If there's some indecision, then maybe it's a signal that you need to recheck your process on that choice. But just being generally anxious to hurry up and get it, that's just impatience.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't let that trick you into thinking that you need to do something. And it's a fine line between, am I anxious, just ready to get the whole thing going, or is there really something that's causing me some indecision? And I think that is experience, being flexible and changing what you thought Monday may not be now what we need to do Saturday. And that is just human nature. That's fighting your biases. And sometimes it's good to turn off the radio and the Twitter. And yesterday I did that, Dennis. I was low key. I did some cooking and cleaning and interacting with dogs. Read a little bit on my Kindle and tried to play some video games and just stayed away from a lot. I was looking mainly for injury. I wasn't really looking at my lineups yet. I figured I would do that this afternoon and tomorrow and tonight. So, this is a tough time, and you're going to feel and confuse anxiety with indecision, and it could trip you up. And if you didn't start, say, Stafford, then you could feel down. And remember, we feel losses more than wins. That's just human nature. And people tend to avoid losses more than seek winning. So they would rather stay average than reach for that ceiling. And sometimes and the hard thing is sometimes you need to reach for the ceiling if you want to win. Not all the time. And that's part of your process as well. And so there's some psychological side. And I'm telling, just like at the horse track, those things put pressure on you. If you win 3 or 4 in a row, you get crazy.
Oh,
And if
yeah.
you lose 3 or 4 in a row, you get knocked off, right? And you walk up to the betting window and somebody in front of you bets 100 on a horse that you weren't considering, man. And then it's like, damn, why am I betting 10 on this other nag and this guy's betting 100? He must know something. And he doesn't know, to him, his 100, is your 1,000. In other words, he's got a lot more money than you to spend. And it can just get you all wacky. Or the hot dog man is telling you, man, the barn, it's all in today. And you're sitting there eating the hot dog thinking, man, what's the barn? Well, who am I to go against what they're saying? It's that bandwagon effect. The barn's on, the groom is betting, the jockey's getting, everybody's saying go. It's hard for you to say no. And Dennis, it's crazy right now. You hear all these pundits and they're saying this and that, and it can make you cry. And then you're mad, right? So if you set Stafford, I could imagine you're still thinking about that game's done, folks. I
Yeah.
had 2 Stafford shares, Dennis. I played one and set one. And so instead of focusing on the good that I did, I played Stafford. I focused too much on the bad Friday. So I just let that drop. That was part of yesterday's, mental health day. Okay, and it just happens. I mean, think about it. If you looked at the DAPs, if you looked at the weather, if you looked at all the pundits, they were saying it's a tough game and on the road, and Seattle's tough, and it was a crazy game, probably the best game of the season. But
Oh,
there was
fabulous.
nothing going into that, Dennis. If you heard the weather, the wind, Seattle's a tough D, Stafford on the road, you heard all that craziness. You're thinking, man, this is going to be 20-18 or something. I mean, nobody's going to score anything. And it was the exact opposite. And it can just drive you crazy. There was nothing that you would predict to be the best game. There was nothing. Because if it was easy to predict, everybody would have been on top of it. And it wasn't.
Yeah, when Vegas misses
They missed.
or the over under by over 25
Yeah, they
points,
missed.
that's huge. And Stafford, I almost psyched myself out, but what did I just say? Anybody with over 100 MVP right now
Yeah.
is a must start.
Yeah.
Stafford at a 114
Yeah.
is my QB3, tied for QB3.
Yeah.
He's a must start.
Yeah.
I don't go against that unless there's a real strong reason. So on Thursday morning,
Yeah.
he's sitting in the lineup because he made that first sort.
Yeah.
But weather forecasting for the West Coast is so tricky.
Yeah. You said that.
Said it over
Wednesday
and over
on our game.
Said
Yeah,
that big
on our
time.
podcast.
I was worried about the rain. And the rain only came for maybe about 5 minutes of the whole game, as far as heavy enough rain to affect the game.
Yeah.
The wind was enough that it affected the kicking game decisions. Nobody went for a long field goal because there was enough of a crosswind that made those long field goals trickier.
Right.
Okay. And so that sort of built itself in to the scenario. But when I was looking, and I waited until up to game time because I wanted to see what the winds were doing at the field right before game time, like half hour before game time is literally what and they were literally at the airport. This shows you how squirrely the winds were. They had a sustained wind of 9 and a gust of 22. That's a huge difference. Like usually it's like 15 gusts 25. Like you're rarely under 10 on the sustained and over 20 on the gust. But what that tells you is the wind is coming and going a lot at the time of the observation. And when you have that, you have more uncertainty ladled onto this. But I was fairly confident that the worst of the rain was gone about 2 hours before game time. I expected more rain than what we got, but I was okay with playing Stafford because I felt that worst case he's going to feed the short passing game. Now I benched a couple of Parkinson shares because Parkinson's a marginal player. He's not one of your elite tight ends. And so with him, it's going to be more touchdown dependent. And I wasn't so sure that they're going to score a lot. Now I was wrong on that, but they threw to the other tight ends, so it worked out.
Yeah,
like you don't even have to be right, perfectly right sometimes. You just have to be better than consensus. His MVP score though this year, it's a 0. So while he has had a couple of big games, he's had a couple of bad games. And what I said on Twitter before the game, the comparison, the decision, and I had this decision in one of my teams, Parkinson or Loveland at tight end. And when I looked at it, they have overlapping range of outcomes. And by that, I mean, I had Parkinson at a floor of 2 and had him at a high of 16 if he gets in the end zone twice.
yeah.
The 16 though was going to not happen as much as maybe a 2 to an 8. With Loveland, I think his upside's only about 12 or 14, but his low side this week against Green Bay, in my opinion, was like 6 to 8. And I think his most likely outcome is an 8 to 12 land. So I played Loveland over Parkinson, and I was like, this can bite me in the ass because Parkinson can have those big games if they feed the tight end and they feed the right tight end in the red zone. I'm going to be stuck on this one without Adams because remember, Adams is their big red zone guy. Nobody scored more touchdowns than Davante Adams. And a lot of those have come in the short end of the field like that.
Right.
Without Davante Adams, it was like, okay, tight ends are in play, but they've got 3 of them, so you're just not sure where it's gonna lay. But that's how I made that decision. But again, I understood going in, this one could bite me in the ass because Parkinson could have another big game. But you cannot play in fear. You've got to use your process and then stick with it. You're going to win or lose with your process. And we know our process is pretty good.
But it can be better. I'm greedy. That's what drives me because I want to find out the answers to questions that Dennis and I pose. And I've just got a lot of that is predictiveness. And I'm just kind of showcasing. I would like to get better at predicting from the preseason data to the draft to the end of the season. I want to get better. I want to have I want to be so good that the choices I have in week 16 are crazy. Because I've got to choose between great players. I don't want to have to where, well, it's obvious who I should play. I got the stars and the scrubs. I want to have all stars and then debate amongst them. I mean, that would be the best teams, Dennis, where I don't have any scrubs. I mean, that's just, You ask me what my goal, that's my process goal. I'll probably never reach that, but that is something to shoot for. And versus, oh, well, I obviously got this, but I have no clue in this, alphabet soup of scrubs. Who am I pulling out for 10 points today? And that's what I want to get better at. Fewer scrubs, more stars.
That's exactly what the goal is. And that's why I'm doing this study going back. Every player that has been active since 2020.
Right.
And then I'm looking at their entire career in MVP. And what that's going to do is going to help me forecast MVP ranges better. And, you talk about not wanting scrubs. I've defined it. I want all of my players that are rostered to have an MVP of 80 or more.
Right.
Now, I said 100 is a must start guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you'd love to have them all over 100, but I'm realistic. But if I can nail all of my guys over 80, okay, and then injuries, you grab whatever's there to patch and fill. Again, we talk always about the fantasy football season being 4 quarters of a football game. So if I've got a guy whose best 6 games, so they can overlap quarters, right?
Right.
His best 6 games are over 100. That gave me a shot at having a good starting lineup every week. And that's not asking for a lot.
Right.
But if my overall total season, if I have a draft where everybody ended up over 80, now if they get hurt, I don't care. Like if they were over 80 and they were on my team, and that was my team, and 7 guys got hurt, well, that's bad luck. And I'm probably with my strategy still okay because I backed those guys up. But if I end up with guys that are over 80, win or lose, I'm happy with that team. Gotcha. Because the process was correct. Look at our dynasty team in FPPC. We didn't do well this year. We didn't make the playoffs. But Scatabo and Bucky Irving getting hurt when we're thin at running back.
Right.
We made the moves to be stronger at running back. We had Chubb, we had Marks, we guys that we knew were going to pay off at some point in the season. Bad season from Pacheco and Hunt. We got killed by having Kansas City. But if Scatabo and Bucky had stayed healthy, we would have been fine all season long. But those are the things that you look at, you go, I can't help that one. I can't help what happened with my injuries. I know the process was strong, and I'm feeling good that next year we'll be able to be back in the playoffs with that team.
I'm looking forward to that and to see what it's all about. And again, building the process. That's what we're doing, Dennis.
And we should draft a new team for Dynasty from scratch together using our process and see how well we do on that team.
Yeah. And one last thing, and we'll talk more about this preseason. I am now, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, I kind of do. I had built touches and targets databases. I had not done a lot of snap database. I only had 2 years of snaps. I'm now got 4 years, and I'm going back further. And I was thinking that touches and targets were what I need to focus on. And that still may be the case, but I'm thinking I don't want to leave snap research on, I want to focus on that too. So I'm going to dig into that a little bit. So I'm already planning databases to build, to do research on. I've got a IDP database that I built. I'm going to add. I'm going to update all my other databases. And so that's going to be what I'm doing after week 17, after the finals, Dennis, probably in January and February, get those databases built. And then by March, I'm off to the races after my vacation in Hawaii, woo woo. And then I'm going to hit it hard come April and May. And I know you'll be getting our opportunity index players that helped me this year.
Yes.
Thank you, by
Yep.
the way, for all that insight. I feel like I was stronger this year than I have ever been. One thing I will comment on that is this year it seemed to be that a lot of our pickups for RBs were a little bit more uh, uh, couple weeks and then they kind of dropped back to earth, like Vidal was really
Yes.
good and helped me, but now we're kind of back to baseline. Whereas other years, I remember that it would last a lot longer, some of these pickups. And so I did notice that this year seemed like it was, and again, maybe that's just bias, just what I remember, but it seemed like some of the pickups were good for a little bit and then the opportunity dropped down. Just like now, we're still picking up players. If Woody Marks doesn't go, we've got the other guy from Houston. I mean, we're talking week 16 and we're still fishing for potential players for week 17. So it seems like that process was a little bit more static, like, and then it dropped, kind of more like little waves and not like a plateau that kept us through the whole season.
Yep.
It's like the season we grabbed Puka early. You
Oh,
told
yeah.
me, this guy's got a chance. You better. So I picked him up, and then I realized early, and I picked more up. You never pick enough up that season a couple of years ago. And St.
Yes.
Brown, the same thing. That and I felt like that lasted a lot long. Of course, those are wide receivers versus running backs, which may be just something of the positional network. I would like to look at the impact of these kind of opportunity players that you identify. Maybe it is wide receivers have a longer impact than running back. I'm not saying they're more important because if you can grab two or three running backs and pop and then drop and then get another one, you can mimic a wide receiver on a plateau. It's just more work. So I'm just wondering how that works historically, and that's a big question for me. And I've never heard anybody discuss that before, Dennis, trying to make predictive approaches like that. And that's some of the questions I have. I've got a lot more. I need interns.
Yeah, and here's the big question that always comes up. And you're right. These guys, you could look at running backs. Look at Bucky Irving last year, how we
Yes,
feasted on that versus Travion Henderson and Woody Marks this year.
yes,
Travion Henderson and Woody Marks, the big debate this week was, were they good draft picks?
yeah.
And at their ADP, I said, yeah, they've outperformed Giante.
Mm-hmm.
And Giante was being picked late first, early second. So those guys have had 6 or more strong weeks.
Right.
But compared to Bucky, they've been a failure. Okay. Bucky Irving was a gift last year where, once Rachaad White got hurt, Bucky took over and never looked back. Ironically, Bucky got hurt this year. But strategy wise, if you had grabbed both Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson and you played the right one each week, you'd have been fine. Or if you had played them both, one in the running back, one in the flex position, you weren't getting hurt most weeks. And you knew the weeks when either Henderson or Stevenson was coming into the week questionable, or they missed the game. So that made the decision real easy. But you had a 5-week stretch from Travion Henderson where his worst week was a 12 or 11-point game, 11, 12-point games. I'll take that any day of the week. If the guy's worst games in a 6-game stretch are 11 points, if he's over 10 every game,
yeah,
that was a good draft pick. He helped you through that portion of the season. Wasn't like Bucky where he carried you all season. But you got to be flexible in fantasy football. And you're right. Research will tell us that our home runs, and when I say home run, I mean a player that gets into your lineup and you never even think about taking him out.
Right.
That was Kyron Williams a couple of years ago. It was Bucky Irving last year.
Puka. St. Brown.
St. Brown. In St. Brown, we go back several years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Puka too. Yeah.
But St. Brown has been notoriously underdrafted. Like this year, I had one draft where I took him as the 4th pick overall.
Yeah.
First round, 4th pick. I'm grabbing him because Bijan and Gibbs were gone, and so was Chase. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown listed before the season as my WR1 in Dynasty. He's the surest bet you've got. And so I was drafting him like that in redraft as well. Not every draft. I wish I had.
Yeah.
But, the idea is if you stay with process, maybe our home runs at wide receiver are better than our home runs at running back.
Yep.
But sometimes
that's the question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question to research. But when it comes to fantasy football, I think we think about the home runs too much.
Yes.
We need singles and doubles to win our games too. Like Travion Henderson and Woody Marks have been solid doubles. They haven't been.
Vidal had definitely a couple
Vidal.
weeks.
Vidal.
Yeah.
If you had Vidal, and here's the thing, if you started out the season with Hampton and Harris, and when Harris got hurt, you picked up Vidal.
Yep.
You were golden.
Remember, Vidal was Haskins, and everybody was flipping to Haskins.
We were right on that one.
And you said, So I ended up, Dennis, like I said, about 35 out of about 36 teams, I have Vidal and kept him.
And sometimes that next man up changes. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought at one point with Green Bay that it might be Brooks or it might be Wilson. I was never 100% all in like I was with Vidal. Vidal, I was like, it's Vidal. It's not Haskins.
That decision flipped back and forth, but at some point, I remember you said it's Wilson.
It's Wilson, and we were still early.
At that point,
yeah,
I grabbed as many shares as I could. I think I had about 10 or 12 at that point.
Oh yeah, and it was the same thing in New Orleans.
Yes,
was Neal. Neal was the guy. And so if anything happened to Kamara, you had Neal. And if you owned Kamara, you better have owned Neal.
And Miller. Yeah.
And Miller.
Yeah.
But I was Neal ahead of Miller. Like I thought that Neal and Miller were closer than people had.
Yeah.
And so I ended up with a lot of Neal. And I was happy with the way that all ended up.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Neal wasn't a home run, but he was like single, maybe stretched into a double. Yeah. If he had not gotten hurt, it would have been even better. But strategy and the better than zero philosophy of let's take a lot of shots at running back it pays off, and it continues to pay off. But you're right. Maybe that opportunity at wide receiver has a bigger payoff to it if you're right about the guys. But and sometimes at wide receiver, the right decision is, oh my goodness, it's going to be a split.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was down on McConkey this year.
Yeah.
Was, oh my God, it's not Lad McConkey's a bad player. It was, oh my God, look at the split. And I was high on Quentin Johnson in the pre-draft because I said he could be the second option instead of Keenan Allen. And it ended up being Keenan Allen and Johnson were 1 and 2 ahead of McConkey early on.
Yeah.
Until Johnson got hurt.
Them adding Allen really muddled the water for me.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And they remind me of the Bills.
Yes.
Yes. It's the same kind of situation. And so in my research, I don't know how to describe that, but I think knowing that there's that collection of wide receiver in general, kind of the whole positional thing versus other teams that it's a clear Drake London and Scrubs. It's different than a Chargers and the Bills approach. And so we need to understand those situations and what happens in those situations.
And the reality is both are viable players to start in some of these circumstances. Look at Jacksonville right now. Yeah. Brian Thomas and Jacoby Myers are both viable starts.
Yeah.
But next season, if Brian Thomas is being taken in the 2nd or 3rd round, and Myers is going in the 7th and 8th rounds,
he's the bargain.
He's the bargain that I'm going to be on. And I'm going to be off of Thomas because you got Hunter coming back. You got Strange over there.
Too costly for the impact.
Yes. And that's versus Nakua and Adams, where I had no problem this year drafting both of those guys.
Yeah.
Nakua was a bargain, in my opinion, end of the 1st.
Right.
And Adams was going about a round later than he should be going. And I had no problem grabbing both because I expected both to be pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes 2 makes sense. But as we've seen with teams like Philadelphia, Devonta Smith is one of the 15 best wide receivers in the league.
Yep.
But in fantasy football, he is not.
Yes.
In fantasy football, because of the passing volume on the Eagles, he becomes a risky pick at too early in a draft. At the right spot, there's still a sweet spot for every player.
Right.
But you gotta get guys at good values. And our research, I think, is on the way to figuring out those windows where that second wide receiver is either viable or not viable. And with a team like Jacksonville, I don't want 2 wide receivers from the same team. Don't want it. But on the Rams, I was fine with it. And so those are the kinds of things that you have to go with. And sometimes the decisions are made late. And sometimes you take 2 flyers, like Denver. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Bryant or Franklin that would be putting some heat on Cortland Sutton, who I thought was going way too early. There were other players I liked better that were going near where Cortland Sutton was going. Nobody was taking Franklin or Bryant. They were going late. But I liked the upside. So I took a shot at either or, and in a couple of cases, both. Right. And then I sorted it out as the season went on. But that's the research that will pay off, is understanding that. And you're right. Opportunity needs some better research as well. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about our big games and our little games on the matchup lab. So why don't you take us through the Vegas numbers and a little bit about what your numbers say going into this week?
I think we have 2 big games. We have then a bunch, what, six or so
Ugh.
right under that, and then about five below, and then three really in the
Ugh.
doghouse, right? It's the
Yeah.
squirrels. And
Ugh.
so, including Kansas City, Tennessee, that will I don't know what we're going to see there. So there's some sadness and some goodness. And again, the Rams Seattle was not predicted at 44,
Nope.
Dennis.
Nope.
There was just no way to see that. And so I was thinking 20-19 or so. I just was not thinking that.
Well, on Wednesday night, I said I think it's going to be under, but there is no way I would bet this. So I
Yeah.
felt pretty good about that. I did
Yeah.
pick the Rams, as did you, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
But Seattle
but
pulling it
Dennis, I
out,
mean,
man.
one play. I mean, it's sometimes pick'ems. I mean, what
Yes.
can you do? I mean, the Rams should, in quotes, have won that game. So
Oh, there were many ways that they found to lose that game.
yeah. So anyway, do you want to talk about a specific game for us to go over?
Yeah,
Is there
let's take a
something that's
look at
interesting to you?
one of the Saturday night games here. So we'll
Hmm.
have to get this podcast up quick after we get done
Well,
recording. But
we'll try. I don't
but
know, Dennis.
let's look at Green Bay and Chicago.
Yeah. So, Dennis, I'm showcasing the DApps in a quick
Ooh, love it.
thumbnail way. I don't
Love it.
know if maybe, we don't have a lot of folks listening, but the few that do, this might help you. I'll try to post this when
Oof.
I can. But just looking overall, we've got an RB issue for both teams,
Yep.
and we've got a Chicago tight end issue, but we've got an opportunity wide receiver. So Christian Watson, if he comes back, or Reed, seems to me, if Watson's out, Reed goes up. If Watson's in, Reed goes to more of a deeper flex consideration versus more of a wide receiver two situation. So Reed is probably a good pick, but it's just where, if assuming, he figures in your deep flexes, where you put him. But Watson, I think, is a top flex or a low W2 situation. So power ranking wise, I've got Green Bay at down here, and Chicago is probably not too. Yeah, so they're both about the same. Prediction wise, Green Bay is all about the pass, and there it is. And Chicago, I bet, is more the rush. There you go.
Yep. Yep.
So the prediction, folks, that I'm trying this is beta test, is kind of falling in line with what I envision this game to be anyway. And let's see, the third here, 24-22. So this is almost a pick 'em, Dennis. Green Bay is an away favorite, which can always be tricky. I don't know about the weather. You'll tell us. 47. It's not bad. This could get us some points. We want lots of points. Given Puka
Oh yeah.
and JSN and all that staff, we need lots of points here. So I'm hoping Love brings home the bacon for me, and I'm hoping that Reed or Watson or both bring in the bacon. I'm a little concerned about Jacobs. He's more doubtful than questionable. At least that was the rumor this morning, Saturday morning. So we'll see. Chicago could be a play 'em all. Swift is supposedly playing, Dennis, what I just read a while
Yep.
ago. And then Monanjay, you and I discussed his 12 touches, what his ceiling and floor could be as well. I would not use any of these defenses though. But it looks like Green Bay has the advantage in the passing here. Chicago is below league average in both rushing and passing. At home, they're pretty good efficient, so they love at home. And Green Bay loves away at 22% more efficient. How about that? So each team is where they want to be. And Green Bay away 14% more passing. They are
Wow.
improving the last 3 weeks. So everything's leaning for Green Bay to pass. And I actually, and this was, in retrospect, I shouldn't have done this, but I took Love over Stafford, Dennis, because of the DAPS. The DAPS pointed in this direction. So I'm hoping I'm right for a lot of reasons here, Dennis. So that's the way I went on this. So what say you?
Well, Love's MVP this year is 57.
Yeah,
And so when I look at that data, I say at
Stafford.
57, he's no, Love.
Yeah,
Stafford's at 114.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you would have
So I
MVP
would have,
says
yeah,
Stafford.
Stafford
I chose the different
was the
one.
logical play for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Love has had some ordinary games against some easier defenses.
Yes.
And he's had some great games against some tough defenses. Like Love has played very, very well at times, and then has been very average at other times. He has been a very tough guy to read. Here's where I'm a little bit more bullish on Chicago
Yeah.
and on a lot of their players, because these DAPs
Yes. It's
are
10 weeks.
these DAPs are with the Micah Parsons, the best best edge rusher in all of football, who has also been incredibly good against the run this year.
Yep.
He's been one of the top 3
Right.
linemen in the league
Right.
on every way. I heard a description of him that really, really makes sense to me, that he's a force multiplier. What they mean by that is his talent is so good, he makes everybody around him better as well, because they're having to double team him almost every time.
How do we quantify that?
So I don't know how to quantify that, but
That's something to think about.
what I'm wondering is, do we see the DAPS without a player like that drop back one level?
Yeah.
So from tough to below average, from below average to above average, that kind of thing. And that's what I think is going to happen in this game. So I like the Chicago running backs despite the tough matchup, because I think they both have a good chance of getting in the end zone.
Yep.
Because I think Chicago is going to have some success throwing the ball with more time to throw without worrying about Parsons. On the flip side of that, the Chicago defense has been a ball hawk all year. They've been forcing turnovers. So I like the odds of Chicago getting some short fields as well. So I'm going to take Chicago in this one.
Yeah.
And boy, 46.5, 47 on the over under. I think they nailed it. I think Vegas is going to hit this one within 3, so I wouldn't make a bet either way. If I was to be a betting man, I'd say because the passing game looks softer for both teams, I'm taking the over in this one, but it's going to be very close.
Nice.
Let's grab another game. This is one where I've got a lot of decisions to make at starting and sitting, guys. Tampa Bay and Carolina.
Okay, so Tampa Bay, Carolina, the DAPS are pretty much average across the board, a little bit for Otten if he plays. I don't know if he's playing, but nothing scares me or worries me. It's just kind of an average game. I will say that and I'll have to check this with our efficiency, but I want to think Carolina loves home. and I don't think Tampa Bay is so much worse away, but we'll see here. This is game 6. Rushing and passing, well, power rankings, Carolina is here and Tampa Bay is there. So Tampa Bay has higher power rankings. And as far as skew to passing or rushing, Tampa Bay, Carolina is all about the rush, and Tampa Bay is probably much more. There you go, much
Yep.
more pass. So a lot of it is a lot like what you would think. Tampa Bay's passing and Carolina is rushing. So Rico might actually be the play this week. I know Ted McMillan's been doing well, but this kind of says they're going to rely on rushing more. At least that's the prediction. And again, this is beta test, folks. I may not even be talking about this next year, but this is what I'm doing. Tampa Bay 25, another away favorite, 19 for Carolina, 345. Carolina, like I said, nothing really scared me about any of this. They are streamable defenses. Carolina, look at that, Dennis, 36% better at home.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's why I'm a little worried about Baker, was just Carolina. I think it's going to be last team with the ball has a chance to win. That's how close I think this is. And look at the rushing skew, 21% more above league average, 28% below pass average. So it's highly skewed to the rush, Dennis. Carolina
Wow.
at home. Tampa Bay is a little bit more pass, but not so much. And Tampa Bay really, it's not that bad away. So I don't think there's any negatives to Tampa Bay. So when Vegas says they're a favorite away, I'm not seeing anything that scares me about that. Just I think Carolina's going to rush, rush, rush. And if you're in a bind, Chuba could be a break glass. If you have nobody else to play in a deep flex, he could be a roll of the dice and could accidentally get a touchdown with this. If this skew is real, Dennis, right here, then it could be a Rico Chuba play them both in an extreme situation. But that's assuming Tampa Bay doesn't get 2 or 3 touchdowns ahead and cause Carolina to flip the script. So I think early in the game, it's going to be a lot of rushing. And I think second half, if Tampa Bay's ahead by 2 touchdowns, Carolina flips the script. And then it's a passing. And this over under may be too low. What say you? I
Well,
picked
for
Tampa Bay.
yeah, first of all, no weather issues in this game. Before I break this one down, I forgot to mention the weather for the
Yeah.
Chicago game. If this game was being played in the afternoon instead of
Mm-hmm.
at night, I would be more concerned because right now it's like 13 gusts 30 up in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I think the winds will let up a little bit. I wouldn't want to be on the kickers for either team, but I don't think the wind is going to be strong enough and without precipitation as well, without any significant precipitation. I don't anticipate any issues, major issues from the weather there. In Carolina and Tampa, I think you broke it down exactly right. I think Hubbard is that break glass guy if you need to throw somebody in,
Yep.
because Dowdle isn't 100%. He's going to
Yep.
play and he's not listed questionable, but he has lost some time during games to minor injuries. He is kind of beat up. And this time of the year, everybody's kind of beat up. So if I have to play the second running back in an emergency flex and the guy's got a pedigree of actually being okay,
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry about it. McMillan scares me because Coker's coming on and Leggett is actually doing well. Otten will play, but he's got a tough matchup, so I don't like him with 5 healthy Tampa Bay wide receivers.
Mhm.
Like you got Jalen McMillan, you got Tez Johnson, you got Godwin, you got Evans, and you got Igbuka. That's going to water down for everybody. I like Evans, but other than Evans, I would be really like, I'll have some Ibuka shares in play. I'll have some Godwin shares in play, but they're not a slam dunk must start. Evans, his MVP is over 100 right now.
You
So
play him.
he's a must start. If you got Evans, he's healthy, he's in your lineup. Godwin and Ibuka could also produce decent games for you. I don't think anybody's performing a Puka for you
Nope.
because these guys are going to split touches, and you've got a lot of talent on that Tampa Bay team. I'm hoping you get enough out of Bucky Irving. I like his chances.
Yes.
It, we have seen Sean Tucker as a touchdown vulture near the goal line.
I know.
So I'm a little concerned about that, but I'll play all my Bucky shares because he is at 100 right now on his MVP. I like Tampa, and I agree with you. With these DAPs not scaring anything away,
Yep.
I love the over in this. I think it'll be a game in the 50s.
And before we leave this, I just want to say another research question I have is looking at RB2s on teams where they're in a very high extreme rush or pass WR2 type. Research that over the last, say, 5 years, Dennis. That's another question I have. In other words, how predictable is 21% over league average for the RB2? In other words, is Chuba tends to be better than we think. I mean, I think for betting, for daily fantasy, and just for flex, we need to know that answer. That's another, like I said, ESPN, if you'll hire Dennis and I, we will revolutionize your metrics. Come on, we got the ideas. We just don't have all the computational or we have family and wives, and they get cranky if we spend 24/7. Okay, they will hit us with frying pans over our heads, and we're old enough to know the risk, how thin the ice can be. When Dennis texts me and watching the game and I'm watching family baking, I can't run over and flip the TV because I will get pelted. So I have to nod and happy where they're making little fondant animals and stuff, Dennis, for the cakes. I have to be excited about, just like a Puka touchdown, the same level of enthusiasm I have to fake with the little fondant animals on the holiday cakes
you
and
gotta pick
cookies.
you gotta pick your spots, folks. I'm always sitting at the computer working on data
Yeah,
when my wife comes home,
yeah,
but she
boy,
but she
we're,
comes home to a clean kitchen.
you betcha.
So
Hey, and I made pinto beans and sausage last night. So we had that over some rice, and I made some cheesy cornbread.
oh,
So I cooked
oh.
yesterday afternoon, Dennis, as part of my therapy Friday before the week 16, just to get my mind off the craziness. So I did some cooking yesterday. So I earned some points, and people say, "Oh, well, you must be ahead of the." No, see, Dennis, I have negative points and positive points. And when you mix it together, it probably, most of the time, I'm about break even because I have a chatty mouth. And when do I look good in this sweater? And sometimes I will be sarcastic. And then I'm 65 and still hadn't learned to, like, darling, you look great in anything, because she knows since I've been sarcastic over the years, she expects me to say something. And if I'm always positive, then she's suspicious. So, Dennis, you got to pick your positives. And folks, if you hadn't been married for 30 years, you don't know what I'm saying, but I'm telling you, there's some secrets there. And
there there are definitely secrets to
it's
be
thin
had there.
ice and minefields in staying married for a long time.
Yeah, but in most situations, remember
Yeah,
those attaboys, you can
yeah,
get like 20 or 30 attaboys
yeah,
in a week, but one of those aw shit moments
yeah.
will
That takes away all the 20 or 30.
take away all your points.
You know,
But
all the
that's
points are swept away. It's like when you be playing your brother or sister in Monopoly and they get mad when you own Boardwalk and they just flip the board and walk out, you know? And
yep.
Dennis, let me tell you a funny story. So I used to, and I had my sister who I don't think we talk much anymore, but I tormented her too much. I had this little piece. It was the dog in Monopoly.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I would make her mad when I'd pass Boardwalk. She had a hotel. I'd stop and raise the dog's leg and wee on her hotel and pass go and collect my money. And about the 20th time of doing that, her mind had just snapped and she'd just get mad and throw stuff at me. I'd say, let my dog wee on your hotel. And, and Dennis, I tormented her like that. So now her mind's not right, even at, she's 4 years younger than me. So, her mind's ruined. I ruined her mind. So
Yeah, that
the dog is my favorite because I can wee on your hotel in Monopoly. That's
oh
too
yeah.
much time playing Monopoly, Dennis, if I thought about that. Too much time. Too much time.
There
More
is
time at fantasy
way,
football and
way too
horse
much time.
racing. Yeah.
Way
Are
too
we doing
much
any
time.
more games or
Let's
we had
look at
enough
let's look at
foolishness?
one more game because
Okay.
I think this is going to be another tough game to handicap, but
Okay.
also a game with some potential goodie in
Okay.
the fantasy football lineups. Atlanta
Yeah.
and Arizona.
Atlanta, Arizona here. Okay. So it is some positive daps for Arizona. It looks like a Brissett, Michael Wilson, and McBride's going to earn his biscuits. Michael Carter has an opportunity. Looks like a lot of dynamicness to it. Whereas Atlanta, Drake London's going to earn his biscuits, but Drake has been killing it. And look at Kyle Pitts here. This looks like a shootout kind of game. And look at Bijan's DAP. It looks all systems aboard, lots of points, at least from the DAP's perspective. Any kind of power rankings here, Dennis? Atlanta's here and Arizona's there. So Atlanta has the advantage for that. And any skew, let's see, Atlanta, where are you? I never know. Here, Atlanta looks like lots of passing, which is good, but look at Arizona, lots of passing. So pass happy teams, Dennis, and the DAPs say that's fine. So I'm wondering, I forgot the over under, but whatever it is, I bet we might bet the over, just the skew there. Yeah, 48. I wouldn't surprise me. It's over that. 26-21 Atlanta. Atlanta's another away favorite. A lot of away favorites today. But look at the DAPs. It's like gravy on about everything except for two categories. Atlanta with the passing. I'm not worried about Drake London here. I just wouldn't play anybody else. And McBride, he just may not get but one touchdown instead of two. It looks like if I was playing an in-game parlay, I'd probably do a lot of, say, 10 catches for McBride and Kyle Pitts touchdown. There's your parlay right there. Atlanta is streamable on the defense. Arizona, uh, doesn't matter where they're at, away or home, they're about the same, but they skew pass. Atlanta away is about the same, and they skew pass. Arizona's been a little bit declining in efficiency versus earlier in the season. So everything seems to say that Atlanta being favored by Vegas seems real, and I think I did take Atlanta just because I think Bijan, London being back, and Pitts have come on, and I think they're just too much for Brissett, who's a little bit more. Let's just say if Michael Carter has a day, Arizona can win. If Michael Carter has an average day, Atlanta wins.
So here's some interesting stuff that's going on. London, of course, is questionable again. He has missed 4 games in a row, but you're right. When he's been there,
Yeah.
he's been lights out this
Yep.
year. He's been so solid, and that's a big decision. If London is active, and we're expecting Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh,
to be
that's
back
right.
for
He's going to be
Arizona.
active.
So if both of them are active,
Yeah.
then I think they kind of even each other out. But I'm not so sure that London's going to play. He's been questionable 4 weeks in a row, and he hasn't played. I don't have any breaking news on this, but I'm concerned because he just has been missing too much time.
Right.
And I'm just a little bit concerned there. But again, no real news to give you an update on saying this guy's going to definitely miss. So watch your breaking news and see what we're going to see. Brissett has been really, really good since he has been in that starting lineup. In fact, I think he's been better.
You think you're going to
Kyler
get
Murray.
rid of Murray because Brissett, not saying that they're going to stay with Brissett, but just Murray becomes more out the door because Brissett has done well?
I think it's a possibility of that. And on the flip side, Cousins has been kind of up and down.
Yes.
Now, this week, I would say he's probably going to be a median or slightly above getting the break here in the DAPS. I'm going to take Arizona, but I agree with you. 48 is probably not enough. I think this is probably mid to upper 50s, if not in the 60s.
Right.
So I'm loving anybody who's active in this game is going to be in consideration of being in a starting lineup.
Yep, I agree.
So head on over to the sportsaffiliation.com. Check out our sister show, the Matchup Lab, that we'll also have up later on today. Head on over to the Science of Fantasy Football. Oh my goodness, folks, it was back to normal this week with 2 articles from me and a lot of data from the professor. And of course, head on back here next Wednesday for another edition of the Science of Fantasy Football.
Get to work, folks.
Oh,
okay. Right. It was a wrap. Let me shut this down. Woo woo.